Welcome to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. In a moment, we're going to talk to Jeff Brindle, who is the Executive Director of the New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission. He wants to talk about dark money and how it affects our elections. Also on today's show, one very popular New Jersey public school is on the verge of shutting down because of the new school funding formula. And New Jersey drivers say distracted driving is the worst hazard on the road, even though they admit they do it. We'll check out a new poll. And now, our interview with Jeff Brindle, Executive Director of the New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission. They say that money is the root of all evil. That certainly can be the case when it comes to politics, especially when you're talking about dark money. So what is dark money and what's the state planning on doing about that? Here to answer those questions is Jeff Brindle, Executive Director for the New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission. Sir, welcome back. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank you for being here.
Let's start with the basics. What is dark money?
Well, dark money, basically, I always refer to it as independent groups or outside groups. And these are groups that spend, significant amounts of money on elections, but don't have to disclose who their contributors are, and in many cases, don't have to even disclose their expenditures.
How do they get away with not disclosing?
Well, simply because it's not under the law at this point, under the New Jersey Campaign Finance Act. For instance, political action committees, political parties, candidates, all under the Campaign Act have to disclose and had to for a long time. But these are relatively new groups that have come about really since 2002 with the McCain-Feingold bill, which really was the catalyst for all this. And then Citizens United in 2010 really facilitated the growth of these groups. And so they're relatively new to New Jersey, basically spending in earnest since 2011 legislative elections, and really taking off in 2013, 2017, and the congressional election last year in 2018.
Dark money is kind of an ominous term. Are the intentions ominous as well? I mean, are they doing it because they want to buy influence?
Well, I would always respond to that from the standpoint that, look, these groups and the people that contributed to them have every right under the First Amendment to participate. But like political parties and candidates and political action committees, PACs, they have a responsibility to register and disclose their financial activity to the public. And our belief is that these independent groups should be treated in the same way.
And that's why you need a law. But the law is to protect, and you would know better than I, so I'm asking you the question. The law would be to protect someone paying for influence, paying for a vote, paying for a contract, giving money to somebody so that they would receive preferential treatment. Isn't that why it's important this be disclosed?
Oh yeah, I think it's very much in the public interest for this kind of, whatever the motivation is for contributing, it is in the public interest to have this money disclosed so that people know who's behind these groups and who is having really outsized influence over the electoral process.
Because there's some empirical evidence that the contractors that gave money to politicians in New Jersey did get contracts.
Is there a quid pro quo? I mean, that would have to be proven. I mean, we can all kind of, surmise that that's why contributions are made. But you
that's
would
why
really
it's
have to
know it. It's still that's why it's important for it to be out in the open.
That's why it's important to know. Right.
So now there are bills that can deal with this.
Yeah, we have. There's a bill before the governor's desk that basically was supported almost unanimously in the bipartisan support in the Senate and Assembly. S-1500, which is sponsored by Senator Troy Singleton, and A-1524, which is sponsored by Assemblyman Andrew Zwicker. Those bills passed almost unanimously, bipartisan support, and it's now on the governor's desk.
And it's been on the governor's desk now for a couple of weeks.
I believe since March 25th is when it was passed by both houses and moved to the governor's
And so it's
desk.
been sitting on his desk, and from what I've read, he hasn't said one way or the other whether he's going to sign it.
Well, earlier on, the governor did say that he supported transparency and indicated support for the bill.
He said specifically he had support for this bill that's on his desk?
He spoke about this bill. He spoke about this bill and support for transparency.
So you expect it to be signed?
I'm cautiously optimistic that it will be signed. I think it will be.
If it is signed, what does that mean? What happens? What does it say?
Well, basically that any advertisements that are electioneering, they're called electioneering advertisement or issue advocacy. Any advertisements or other activities that are related to electioneering or basically grassroots lobbying or lobbying in general would have to be disclosed. Any money that's spent by these independent groups doing that.
The Election Law Enforcement Commission, what do you do exactly? Is this what you look at, is the kind of stuff you look at?
Well, I would say that the New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission has a very broad jurisdiction, probably more broad than probably many other agencies of similar agencies throughout the country. Not only do we regulate candidates and political parties and political action committees, and hopefully now independent groups, but also lobbyists register with us and we regulate them. We regulate the pay-to-play law, and we oversee the gubernatorial public financing program, and fundraisers also have to report their activity to us. So it's very broad responsibility, right from the local level all the way to the state level.
I wanted to establish what you do because I wanted to find out if it is a myth that Jersey politics somehow are dirtier than other places in the country. Every time you hear somebody talk about Jersey politics, they go, well, that's Jersey. Yeah. As if it's already cooked into the books that there's going to be some shenanigans.
You know, I mean, you hear that, but I do think it's a myth because there's plenty of corruption that goes on throughout the country. So I don't think it's just isolated in New Jersey.
Where did we get that reputation then?
You know,
before the commission.
I think it goes back a long time. You know, in terms of, you know, because we've had a pretty strong party system, you know, traditionally and historically, and you know, you kind of get that those legends about the old bosses and so on and so forth.
Because I certainly don't see the reason I ask the question is because I hear it all the time, but then you look at people that have had to resign or convictions, and we've had a couple, I know, but certainly there's other parts of the country that have been far worse than in New Jersey, and I'm sure you know that's much because of the laws that are enacted in Jersey. Are ours stricter than other places, or about the same?
No, I think our campaign law is very strict. I think we do have strict laws and strict laws in terms of corruption. You know, I think our attorney generals, you know, have always been very serious about you know, rooting out corruption, and our prosecutors and so forth. And you know, I think they've just done a very good job, and I think maybe that's because we have this reputation of there being so much corruption, because the prosecutors and our attorney general and so forth and the Election Law Enforcement Commission has done such a good job in rooting out this, any kind of corruption that exists.
Well, wonderful. Thanks for coming in. Keep up the great work. I really appreciate it. Good luck with the bill.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Jeff Brindle, Executive Director of the New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission. When we come back, problems with the new school funding formula could cause one very popular, very successful school in New Jersey to shut down. We'll talk about that when Jersey Matters continues.